you've heard of Israeli settlements on the land of Palestine, right? I'll tell you like how those three processes exist in every single household of any of the 193 Israeli settlements we have in the territory of the occupied West Bank. The Swiss cottages you see on the photo of the south of Bethlehem, how did the state of Israel manage to build those things, settlements? They removed the Palestinian families off their land. They stole the land and they built housing units to replace the Palestinian population with selected kind of people, you know? And that process happens in almost every single household you see in this Swiss neighborhood. And now, while the entire world was invited to debate Israeli settlements and see how legal or illegal they are, how they are, a violation of international law and so on, the state of Israel on the ground was not engaging in that debate. They were engaging in a process of removal of Palestinians, stealing their land, and replacing the Palestinian population with a preferred kind of population. In the case of the state of Israel, Jewish Israelis. So, in every aspect of the life of Palestine, those are the three processes that the Israeli government have been creating and maintaining over the past 70 plus years. Now, to make things even more complicated and more confusing for outsiders, the state of Israel have invented like a mess of laws. Like you probably understand or know that the state of Israel does not have a constitution, right? The reason they don't have a constitution is because why to have one legal system while we can have five legal systems? So on those 27,000 square kilometers, the Israeli government applies not one, not two, but five different legal systems applied on the population under Israel's control. One of those legal systems is applied on you if you are born to a Jewish family. The other four are enforced upon you if you were born to a Palestinian family. And those four systems are separate and different. This map shows a little bit of those four systems. Uh, this map was taken off the website of the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and you probably see a term like no data, which is one of those lies. The state of Israel has data on each and every inch of the land of Palestine, but sometimes they like to share information. Most of the time, they will never share information that will expose them as a criminal regime. The first set of rules applied on Palestinians is what the so-called Israeli Arabs are forced to survive through. Those are Palestinians who were subject to Israeli military rule from 1949 to 1966. They make up nearly 10% of the entire Palestinian population, and they are called by the State of Israel Israeli Arabs, not Palestinians or Arab Israelis. So they are there as people who do not kind of belong. There are about 65 Israeli civil laws that are imposed upon the so-called Israeli Arabs or the Palestinian survivors of the ethnic cleansing of Palestine that was carried out in 1947, 48, and 49. And those 65 laws are sometimes discriminatory in language and practice. In other situations, they are beautiful in language, discriminatory in practice. There are many organizations that exposed those 65 laws that you can also read about them. But that's just one of the four set of rules applied on Palestinians. The second set of rules is applied on Palestinians who are surviving within the Israeli boundaries of Jerusalem. The black lines you see on this map are about an area of 73 square kilometers. There are about 450,000 Palestinians who live there. So the Palestinians in Jerusalem are not mistreated the same way as the so-called Israeli Arabs. They are not mistreated like Palestinians in Nazareth. They are referred to as permanent residents of Jerusalem. And there's nothing permanent about Palestinians in Jerusalem other than the word and the title. Because if you've been paying attention to the Palestinians within those boundaries, There are many Palestinians who were expelled completely from this area, and there are Palestinians who are being expelled slowly, one by one, family by family, house by house. The State of Israel got away with destroying more than 17,600 homes for Palestinians in Jerusalem since they occupied the city. And the process in Jerusalem is once again removal of Palestinians, confiscation of their inheritance and property, and replacing Palestinians with Jewish Israelis. The third system is one of the most complicated systems. It's applied upon Palestinians in the occupied West Bank of River Jordan. The 3.3 million Palestinians who live within that territory are subject to Israeli military rule. The 800,000 Jewish Israelis who live in that territory, they are subject to Israeli civil law. Israeli military rule is made of more than 1,600 military orders. That's the rule that I, together with nearly 3.3 million Palestinians, are forced to survive through. Israeli military orders are more, there are more orders than the mind of an Israeli soldier can take. Yet, if I, as a Palestinian, would break any of those military orders at the age of 14, I will be arrested, I will be sent to a military court, I will be sentenced, and I will by an Israeli military judge, and I will be sent to prison. That process was carried out more than 1 million times in Israeli military courts. More than 40% of the male Palestinian population have been sentenced at least once in their life in those military courts. Yet the reality in the occupied West Bank is also made complicated because we have a Palestinian president, we have Palestinian government, we have Palestinian police, but it doesn't get in people's minds that all of this exists under Israeli military rule. It's like we have Palestinians who are allowed to rule over Palestinians under domination of the Israeli army in the exact same way like many occupied or oppressed populations will develop some kind of leadership under domination of foreign powers. Most recently, you had like people in Afghanistan, like Afghanis ruling over Afghanis under domination of American control in there. When American control left Afghanistan, the entire system of Afghanistan collapsed. So we have Palestinians who are ruling over Palestinians under domination of the State of Israel and under Israeli military rule. Ones that like they are only relevant to the reality of oppression that Palestinians in the West Bank are forced to live through. In the occupied West Bank, we don't live together. We live in nearly 130 divided communities, cities, and towns. In our cities, we have Palestinian police. Palestinian police is allowed to do whatever police does in your communities, except for one thing, which is providing a protection for Palestinian civilians from the Israeli army. Nobody is allowed to provide Palestinians with protection from the Israeli army. Why did Palestinians accept this kind of a system? They accepted this kind of a system simply because of the peace process, where the city centers will be areas A, the villages like the brown areas or the orange areas on the map will be areas B, and the rest will be area C. Area A, B, and C would become the state of Palestine in the year 1999, something that was never ever fulfilled by the Israeli government. So right now we are divided by like we have a 700 kilometers wall, we have 1,200 miles of Israeli highways to maintain separation of Palestinians from each other. We have about 700 Israeli checkpoints scattered throughout the occupied West Bank. Like, for example, if our president was to come from the city of Ramallah to visit Bethlehem, he has to come on Israeli military checkpoints. It's down to the Israeli soldier in the checkpoint to allow our president to pass or not to pass. What does that mean? It means that any Israeli soldier has superior authority in Palestine than the authority of the president of Palestine. So it's a very confusing reality that also adds up to preventing people from understanding reality the way it is.